Spurs are sitting on two of the best talents they've had in their academy in a long, long time. I think Spurs' academy has come on leaps and bounds in the last few years. I think there's a few reasons for this. I think Spurs have always had a pretty decent academy, but I don't think it's ever been of the level of the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, even Man City in recent years. And I think there's taken a bit of work to sort of try and catch it up. But I do think now we're coming up to a point where we can compete in terms of academies. Um, in my lifetime, I've seen a few good academy products come through. Um, and when I'm talking academy talents, I'm not necessarily talking about what they did in the professional game. I'm merely talking about how good they were at academy level and how promising. So these players I'm going to talk about today, that's not to say they're definitely going to go on and achieve major things because we know football is not linear and development doesn't work like that. I'm purely talking about the talent and the tools they have at such a young age to really push on. Um, and so the likes of, we've obviously seen that the main one is Harry Kane come through. Harry Kane went on and achieved crazy things. That's the kind of academy player you dream about, to really spawn a player who goes on to be worth over 150 million, score numerous amounts of goals and become the club's major player is almost unspeakable. It's a weird one with Harry Kane because I think at academy level he was always a good player. He was never he was never projected to go on and achieve what he has achieved, and I think a lot of that is credit to him. But at academy level, I would say some of the players I'm going to talk about today, I think at this point of their career, they're further along, and that's why football's not linear. It's so clear that Harry Kane was a very good player. He was a good shooter. There was some worries about his mobility, I remember, but obviously he went and achieved crazy things, which makes you think that talent isn't everything. But these players that I'm going to talk about today are crazy talented. And some of the other ones I can think of who really impressed me at academy level. Marcus Edwards, I think he's one of the best that's ever come through at Tottenham in terms of talent, and obviously didn't quite work out for him at Spurs. But he's gone on to have a very good career, and I think it's still time for him to go even higher and probably play in the Champions League. He's so talented, an amazing dribbler. I remember watching him live, I think for the under-18s one time, and just give the ball to him and he just does it all. He's crazy technical, low centre of gravity, ability to beat players, entertain the crowd. A couple others are Josh Onuma. He used to dominate games at youth level. I was so sure he was going to make it to the first team, and I think I'm not really sure what happened to him because he was way too good for youth football. He used to take the piss really in games and dominate them, take the game by the... He was a bit like Moussa Dembele, to be honest, at youth level. And Carl Walker-Peters was another one, really, really technical. But I don't think they could even be considered on the same level of the players that I'm going to talk about today. So if we talk about the first one, Luca Williams-Barnett, I'm sure people are starting to hear about this guy. He was on the bench in one of our Europa League games. He's a number 10, really flary, entertaining, just a real swagger and arrogance in the way he plays in the best way possible. He's sort of, I think, primarily a number 10, but he can play across the front. He's so complete for that kind of attacking player. I'm going to come into more of what his style is and how best he can be deployed, but he's a crazy talent. Scored some spectacular goals last season, represents England, all the above, and I think he's the kind of player that fans would pay to watch, especially if he's confident and in the mood. I think he's one that just gets you off your seat. And the second one I'm going to be talking about is Junai Byfield, who is a centre-back, 16 years of age. Both of them are 16. He is just incredible. He has got everything you want from a modern centre-back. Both-footed, amazing on the ball, rapid, strong, good in the air, comfortable playing across the back four. He's incredible. So yeah, these two I think are pretty nailed on, I think, to at least have very good careers in football. But I really think they can affect the future of this club as well. And they're the kind of players that you really build a pathway for. I think one thing to note as well about our academy is when Paratici came in, as sort of sporting director at Spurs, we had a bit of an issue where players of good caliber players wanted to move on because Spurs had a very strict wage structure for their youth players. They were very kind of traditional in the fact that they never thought a certain youth player should get paid above a certain wage. And the likes of Chelsea and United and Man City, they would always pay top money for a youth player. And so we'd often lose out for those signings, those youth signings, or potentially lose out on our own youth products because clubs were just offering more. And Paratici came in and kind of said that there's no way of building a top academy without giving in to the new way of paying youth players in football, and that's the way football's changed. And people might not like it. I think there's definitely downsides to it, but if you want to keep up with the best, I think that was vital, and I think that was a major reason why we allowed Mikey Moore to stay, because he had offers from all over the place, and we nailed him down on a contract because of Paratici coming in and sort of changing that structure. But yeah, academy players in general as well. There's nothing better as a match going fan to see a player come through who's one of your own, and to watch them is a crazy good feeling. And so it's so exciting when we have talents like this. I think it's one of the most exciting things in football when one of your own comes through the academy. And we saw that with Harry Kane, obviously. I want to start with Luca Williams-Barnett. So he's a sort of number 10 who is just so good at receiving on the half turn. That's the thing I really, really like about him. He's so elusive, so agile, really slick and smooth in the way he kind of floats on the ball. And this is kind of an example of where the types of areas he'd receive it in, off the sort of back four and the half turn. And he's so good at getting his body in between the ball and the player, where often he's sort of hiding the ball from the opponent, which means when he changes direction, it's so impossible to read which way he's going, especially as he's two-footed. So he's not predictable at all. He's so good at sort of getting out of that. And then once he does turn, once he's in a stride, he glides across the turf. He's so good at receiving on the half turn and then having a run. That is just so good to watch. He's got all the body feints, the ability to put defenders off balance. Just such a smooth player. This is the kind of position where I love watching him, like where he picks up in these sorts of areas, in transition often, but sometimes in settled play as well. And he knows exactly what he's going to do when he gets this ball. He's just so instinctive. He'll receive it here and he knows he's going on a run. And that run will take him left, it will take him right. Because he has no angle bias because he's both footed. So he's so unpredictable. He can sort of drive into the right channel. He can drive into the left channel. He might slip a ball through his left foot, or he might fake to do that, come back on his right. It's so difficult to stop when he's driving at you. And yeah, just a great player. When he does get into those advanced areas, he's got a really nice weighting of pass, where he doesn't even really have to break his stride. He's driving with the ball and he doesn't shape up that much, so he doesn't sort of telegraph it, but he'll slip in a great through ball. I think this one led to a goal, I'm pretty sure. And then I think what a lot of people have seen from him is the spectacular that he can produce. He's a great ball striker. He scored, I think, 3 goals from inside the centre circle last season, which is just ridiculous. If you have time, go and YouTube those goals because they're crazy. I wish I could show you if it wasn't for copyright. But this is a position he scored from. So he's just a really exciting young player, attacking player. The type that I love watching. If I was going to probably compare him to someone, it would be Cole Palmer. I think he's got that swagger. He's got the ability to also slow down in the final third and sort of freeze the back four because he's so confident, so composed. They often are terrified and they don't want to make a challenge because they know he's going to chop one way, chop the other way back and sort of make them look stupid. So that's the kind of comparison I'd make for him. And I'll talk about how I think he kind of fits in a modern day system, especially at first team level later on. But let's move on to Junai Byfield. So Byfield is a centre-back who is both footed. He's played left centre-back, he's played right centre-back. I think he's played at full-back as well. And I'm going to talk about him on the ball first. And we've seen the likes of Romero, especially at Spurs, being able to punch these passes through to the midfield. And that is something that Byfield has in abundance, the ability of both feet as well. And I want to stress how important being both-footed is as a centre-back, because it makes it just so difficult to press you. Because if you get someone pressing you from the right, you can play out left. If someone's pressing you from the left, you can play out right. It just really opens up the whole pitch for a centre-back, and you can't, as a presser, you can't really cut off any angles because they can play so well to any angle. And Byfield has that in abundance. And one thing I also want to note is, so I think he's really got that Romero type passing ability, but he's also got the carrying ability that we see from Van der Ven at times. He's rapid. He's got incredible ball manipulation, and just a great stride. So when he gets on a run, it's really, really effective. So at times he might sort of fake to pass because everyone who's playing against him knows how good he is at passing, but then he'll cut back and go on a run. And it's just adding those strings to your bow as a ball-playing centre-back makes it just harder and harder to press you. So I think that's a key thing to note here. One thing I also love about him is how tidy he is just in terms of ball manipulation. And this might terrify, I think, often the older fan base who aren't used to defenders being so technically proficient. But he does a lot of sort of unorthodox ways of getting out of pressure, the type of things you'd see from a flary winger or something like that, where he'll fake, let's say here, he fakes to go play to the left back, drags it back, and then opens up more space for him to go and play. He does that all the time. He's done nutmegs, he's done all kinds of things really there. And the same again here, he's playing against Chelsea here. They're really pressing high in this game. He goes to play with his left foot, cuts back, and then punch the pass into midfield through that sort of gap between the winger and 10 there. This is just something he does pretty much every game. I think he's just incredible on the ball. And then defensively, I mean, he's so rapid that he's just a typical modern day defender. He can defend really high. He wants to be aggressive, but he's also able to do the sweeping up, which here, obviously, the Watford striker is well in front of him. A quick striker as well. And he recovers so well and blocks the shot. And he does this brilliantly. But he's also good at managing space and being able to defend his box as well. So he's just got a bit of everything. And I've been so impressed by him. He's captained England. He's captained Spurs as well. So he's got a great sort of head on his shoulders. And I'm more excited by Williams-Barnett in terms of style. But in terms of someone I would bet on to go to the top, Byfield for me is that. I think he has everything you look for in a modern centre-back. There's no real weakness there in my eyes. And I want to be clear that, like I said before, I'm not trying to predict these players' futures. They're 16. There's a long way to go. I just want to really highlight how talented they are at this stage. And that obviously increases their chances to go on to be top players. But it's not the be-all and end-all, obviously. So I want to quickly talk about how they might fit in a modern system. Let's start with Williams-Barnett. And I think I'm going to kind of refer to what Frank's trying to do at the moment, just because it's a good reference point. So let's say Spurs at the moment are building up a bit like this. I think somewhere that Williams-Barnett could be really, really good at is what we saw from Devine in that first friendly, is picking the ball up in these sort of half space areas deep and being able to carry it all the way through. He's such a good carrier. He reminds me a bit of a Grealish in that sense, an Aston Villa Grealish, where he's so happy to roam and be free and pick up the ball from the back four, pick up the ball from the midfield. And then once he does get on the run, his ability to create and also his ball striking ability is just top off both feet. So I really like that kind of role for him of being able to come and pick it up deep, but then carrying it into the final third. Because he's so good on the half turn and so good at carrying, I think that makes sense for him. I think also he can play a traditional number 10. He's also, one thing I've noticed as well with him is he's great at running beyond. Now some 10s, often number 10s, they constantly want the ball to feet. They're not really willing to do the off-ball runs to create space for others, but Williams-Barnett does that quite a lot, which I really like. The classic like Dele Alli type run, where striker might go feet here and he runs in behind, and that gives the defenders a problem. They don't know whether to track him, leave him. And obviously once he gets in front of goal, he's a really accomplished finisher. So that's where I'm at with Williams-Barnett. I think the one thing I'd say about Williams-Barnett at the moment is that he's quite slight. He's deceptively strong, but I think obviously at men's level, especially in the Premier League, he's going to need to bulk up a little bit, I think. But he's 16, he's still growing, I think, and that's a major part of development. So we'll see how that goes. I think the under-18s was way too easy for him, and I think this year we're going to see more of him in the 21s, which should be a step up physically for him, which is a great thing. But yeah, I think when he does come into the first team, I think it's likely that we'll see him out wide, just because the responsibilities of a wide player are much lesser. I think you receive it with a bit more time. You also have that way of seeing the whole pitch, which means you aren't constantly needing to check your shoulders in the tight midfield. You can receive it with your back to the touchline and then come in and do your stuff. And also you can try things more out wide where it's less problematic. If you lose it in these areas, it's fine. Whereas if you lose it in these areas, that can be really damaging. And for a young player, that's quite a lot of pressure, I think, at times. So you often see the young kind of number 10 start out wide just to kind of ease them in. So I think that's something we'll see for Williams-Barnett. In terms of Byfield, this is one I'm really excited with, especially in this system. I think obviously we're playing this sort of lopsided back four with one of the fullbacks pushing high and one of them tucking in to make a three. So there's a few differences between these two centre-back roles. I think this centre-back, the outside centre-back with the fullback who's really high, he's going to have to do a lot of defending channels, which requires a very athletic player, someone who can really manage big spaces, which Byfield can at this stage. We don't know how it's going to translate at first team level, but for his level, he can easily do that. Athletically, he's top. It also, I think, requires on the ball maybe more of a carrier. There's a lot of space to be used here, and with the fullback going really high, there might be just slightly less passing options for that outside centre back than the middle centre back. But what you really like, which I think we'll see Van der Ven do a lot, but I think Byfield really can do it as well, is really carrying it into these areas and then kind of punching passes. But I think just as easily he could play this role because of his both-footedness. I think this really opens up so many angles, and he can just be a sort of deep line playmaker from here. Either number 6, number 8, punching passes through there. He can play long to the outside fullback. He can play long to the wide winger. So I think he's just such a complete player that he's more than comfortable in any sort of defensive role. I think he could even play this one, which is like a traditional the fullback. So in a back four, it would look like that. And he's so comfortable on the ball, so skillful as well, really, on the ball to carry it into these areas and really combine with whoever. So I think he's just so malleable. And I think that's the kind of defender that you want in the modern day because of how fluid systems can be in terms of what you build with. You want a player that's just comfortable doing it all. That is Byfield. And then one last thing I want to touch on is just how good these two potentially partner up. And obviously it's a long way to go in football. It never works out quite how you think, but just me thinking about it, these two partner so well because Vuskovic needs someone who's really quick next to him, I think, to really get the best out of him. I think Byfield's slightly smaller than Vuskovic. I think Vuskovic would be the really dominant one aerially, would go and win things high up, and then you have Byfield constantly covering him behind, protecting Vuskovic pace-wise, and Vuskovic sort of protecting him in terms of height, although Byfield is strong in the air and he's going to grow as well. He's only 16, so I'm not worried about that, but I think these two partner up really nicely. And what's so good about both of them is how both-footed they are. Imagine having two centre-backs that are both-footed. Like, the amount of angles that opens up when you're ball playing is just sensational. So yeah, I think those two are really, really strong players. Talented ones you can all be excited about. It's a long way to go for both of them. They're only 16. But they're ones to definitely keep an eye on if you can catch any academy games this season. I'm sure at least one of them will probably be involved with the first team at some point in the season. I hope anyway. I think they're both deserving of that. Especially Williams-Barnett. I think it's easier to plug in an attacking player to a first team environment than a defensive one. Enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe. Comment down below what kind of video you want to see next. We're obviously going to be doing a bit of a review to our next friendly against Luton. That will be out on Sunday. And yeah, please like the video as well and just let me know what you want to have analysed, basically. I'm open to doing whatever you guys want me to do, Spurs related, obviously. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and catch you next time.